So for the past 8 years, you have a large project with Oakland schools. And 8 years ago, when that first began, I had a chance to meet Mike. And Mike struck me immediately as someone that saw the big picture of education. And he was able to take ideas and really move them into practice. So as Mike has kind of moved to various schools and now to University Liggett, he's been someone that I've really stayed in touch with as a collaborator. And has really kind of brought into much of the work that I've done. He's been someone that I can hand ideas to, that he can work with teachers, really move them forward into practice. And so he's really been very instrumental in terms of my own research and moving that forward. When we think about teaching, we often tend to narrow it down to the curriculum or to instruction. And really, for me, it all comes down to culture and the culture that we're building in both classrooms and across the school. And so a part of that culture building are the expectations we have for students, and do we have expectations for developing them as thinkers and learners, expectations for really deep thinking. And then we have to think about, okay, if we kind of are building that culture, a key part of that culture is the routines which we have. It's not just routines for behavior, routines for classroom management, but it is the routines for thinking and learning. So here at University Liggett, many of the teachers have been taking the routines and using them to really scaffold, support, promote their students' thinking and learning. And a great example is in the ARP project with the Year 12 students. So they've been using a routine that we developed a couple of years ago that I'm writing about in a new book. And in that ARP class, the students were using a routine called SAIL, which stands for share ideas. Then the listeners ask questions, offer ideas, and then the original sharer sums things up by what did they learn. So the students are able to use this, and I saw that kind of happening today, use that SAIL routine to share what they were working on in their individual action research projects, hear from their colleagues, their peers, what questions they had about their project, get new ideas that would actually move their project forward, and then really distill what they had heard by talking about what they learned. So it's a really great example of what a routine does. So we look at the learning situation, we look at the thinking that students need to do, and then we think, what are the prompts, what are the scaffolds that we can put in place? So by no means are routines kind of straitjackets or ordinary or closed, but they're really facilitative structures that move the thinking forward. So the ideas of culture of thinking really are a worldwide project. So I work with schools all over the world. And I think this is a really exciting time in education because more and more parents, students, businesses are recognizing that the tools that we need to prepare our students with are not just academic scores, but we need to develop them as learners and thinkers. We all expect today that we are going to be in many different jobs, that we are going to need transition, that we are going to need to continue to learn. And so schools all over the world are looking at that development of students as thinkers and learners, not just development as test takers. And I think this is a really exciting time. And I think one of the really powerful things that we have found in our own research about a culture of thinking is that this is not a trade-off. It's not an either or. So it's not either students get good scores or we develop them as thinkers and learners. Every school that we've ever worked at, when they focus on developing students as thinkers and learners, those academic scores go up as well. So if we can do both, why shouldn't we do both? And I believe we should. And so the Cultures of Thinking framework gives teachers the tools and schools the tools to really succeed on all levels.